Hi, Pastor Wayne here, and I'm just out taking a short walk and just thinking and meditating on the words that David wrote from Psalm 100. They are words of praise, words of thanksgiving. In this short little psalm, David was expressing words of emotion, writing down words, attempting to verbalize through language all of the sentiments, all of the thoughts that were boiling over inside of him. David knew God's goodness, he knew God's love, and had experienced the Lord's faithfulness in so many ways in his life. And he just needed to release all that he knew and express it in words, and so he wrote it down. And all that David knew to be true in his spiritual world, in his inner life, he needed to proclaim in the physical world. His heart and spirit were just bubbling over with enthusiasm and thankfulness for who God was. Here are the words of David that I read when and heard as I was growing up as a young boy back in the 60s. Psalm 100. From the translation of King James, of these ancient words. David wrote down, "Make a joyful noise unto the Lord, all ye lands. Serve the Lord with gladness, and come before his presence with singing. Know ye that the Lord, he is God. It is he that hath made us, and not we ourselves. We are his people, the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving. Enter his courts with praise. Be thankful unto him, and praise his name. For the Lord is good. His mercy is everlasting, and his truth endureth to all generations." These are just magnificent words. Words to stop and meditate on from time to time. But then as I grew, got a little bit older, as I moved into the 70s, I started reading these words of David from the translation called the Living Bible. It's a translation of Scripture that they actually call a paraphrase. And here's what I read. It says, "Shout with joy before the Lord, O earth. Obey him gladly. Come before him singing with joy." Try to realize what this means. It means the Lord is God. He made us. We are his people, the sheep of his pasture. Go through his open gates with great thanksgiving. Enter his courts with praise. Give thanks to him and bless his name. For the Lord is always good. He is always loving. His faithfulness goes on and on to each succeeding generation. And these words that I read from the Living Translation paraphrase, those words captivated my attention, and it drew me in through those years closer to the Lord. But then as I stepped into my 20s, as a young adult, these words of David just brought comfort and hope to me, and they taught me how to bridge the gap between the physical world and things that were going on around me, and helped me step into the spiritual world that it was also around me. And now, all these years later, David's words still resonate in me. But these days, I enjoy reading them from the Amplified Bible. And here's what I read in the Amplified Bible. It says, make a joyful noise to the Lord, all you lands. And most of the time, that's exactly what I do. I make just a joyful noise. But serve the Lord with gladness. Come before his presence with singing. Know, perceive, recognize, and understand with approval that the Lord is God. It is he who made us, not we ourselves. We are his. We are his people, the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and with a thank offering. Enter his courts with praise. Be thankful and say so to him. Bless and affectionately praise his name. For the Lord is good. His mercy and loving kindness are everlasting. His faithfulness and truth, they endure for all generations. These words of David, they still resonate in me. A few weeks ago, outside the front doors of the church building, right in the stones and the dirt of the parking lot, a pair of killdeer made a nest, and they deposited 4 tiny eggs. And perhaps you've seen some of these amazing little birds around where you live. And they received their name of killdeer because they have a high-pitched squawk. And sometimes it sounds just like they're saying killdeer. But they are small birds who are black with white stripes around their necks, who often live in quiet, rocky areas. They do fly, and they fly very well, in fact, but we often see them scurrying around on their short, thin legs, with their legs just moving a mile a minute. And if I walk out the front doors of the church and they happen to be close by, they take off right away. But they don't take off into the air like most birds would. First, they run across the parking lot with their little legs moving so fast. I mean, they kind of remind me of a cartoon character with their legs just a blur and a flash. Perhaps you've seen these little birds while walking among beaches and shorelines, running at crazy speeds along the shoreline. But when I approach them here in the parking lot, they jump up from their nest and start running. It's very hard to get close to them because they see you from a long way away. But this pair of killdeer, they had built this nest right in the dirt and the stone of the parking lot, and they were guarding their 4 little eggs that were deposited there. 4 little speckled eggs that were so well camouflaged through their speckles and the color of the eggs that I could easily walk right by and not even notice the nest. And what's fascinating is the reaction of those 2 parents as they took turns sitting on their eggs and sitting on the nest. When someone was close by, when a danger was being perceived by them, they would jump off the nest and run with their legs going. They would run at high speed, running away from that danger, while drawing attention to themselves, while making their high-pitched squawking noise. And then they would flop over. They would flop over as if they've been hurt. They would start flapping their wings and ruffling their feathers and squawk even louder, pretending to have fallen and hurt themselves, making themselves look like easy prey for whatever danger, whatever predator was close by. Stunt people, those who pretend to have injured themselves in movies, they could take some lessons from these little birds. It's fascinating to watch them as they go through their act. But I tried to capture it on video, but it was rather difficult to try and get them. But I witnessed in their little performance their dedication, their faithfulness at protecting their eggs and making themselves vulnerable. And it reminded me of these words that David wrote. If you find yourself afraid today, worried about tomorrow, anxious about the future, you feel like there's a predator in your life, if these fears and concerns are paralyzing you, causing you to hide from life, making decision-making just agonizing for you, turning your life and your days into just a gloom of night. Then enter his gates with thanksgiving. Enter his courts with praise. Know, perceive, recognize, and understand with approval that the Lord is God. In the darkness of night, when fears have gripped your soul, it's not easy sometimes to give thanks, to give praise in those moments. But try this perhaps. Today, tomorrow, when the darkness has lifted and the fear has vanished, and you're in the light of day, write down one or two things that just make you happy, that bring gladness and joy into your life. That friend, that comes along and provides company when you're alone. That sunset that just brought you a moment of peace. That pet that just makes you smile. That neighbor's child who gave you a hug and made you feel important. That person who opened the door for you. That memory that you cherish from years gone by. Some words of David that he wrote. Perhaps remember some of those. Some of his words that bring you hope. In the light of day, write down something that you are thankful for. And the next time fear, worry, sadness, anxiety envelops your heart, and take out that little piece of paper that you wrote down those wonderful things on, and enter the Lord's gates by giving him thanks for those things he has brought into your life. Bring those small pleasures of your life, give him thanks. Enter his gates, enter his courts with praise, and once you've entered, linger there. For the Lord is good. His mercy and loving kindness are everlasting. Be victorious by standing in the shadow of the Almighty. Have a wonderful day. May the Lord bless you this day as you give thanks and praise to him.